three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome to AZcrypto. This is AZcrypto, MrFOMO. MrFOMO, as much as we don't want to, we've got to update our viewers here on the Voyager situation. Some people got to listen to the Townhall live. Some people got to listen to it taped. Wasn't very uplifting at all. To me, it was just, man, kind of depressing, to be honest with you. But we do have some important information we got to give. The big thing is, try to make this as positive as we can. Try to look on the bright side. March 3rd, if this gets approved, you could get your crypto in kind weekly sometime in March. Now, apparently Binance was invited on the call and declined. Not great. I mean, God, you're taking over these customers' platforms, and you don't have the DC to come. And I'm down on Binance too, to be honest with you, the way they've behaved. Like there was that one tweet from Brian, the head of Binance US, and they've kind of been silent since. But that kind of aggravated me. But March 3rd is an important date where this can be hopefully approved after the voting is over, February 22nd. Then, weekly, it looks like it's going to be a weekly thing. And I don't love that weekly thing. So what's going to happen is you're going to KYC into Binance US, unless you're from Texas and a couple other states. And then it gets more complicated. And as you KYC the following week, you will start to get your crypto in kind. But it could be several weeks. From what I could tell, it could be 3 to 4 weeks before you get all of your, whether it's 51%, 50, 49. We'll talk about that later. It's still a process. You probably are not going to get it all in one day. And that's kind of annoying. And here's why. And someone brought this up. If you're getting back VGX, however they give it back to you, and it is listed on Binance, there's going to be a run to sell. So if you're not getting yours first, by the time you get it, it'll be worth less. I don't know how they're going to handle that, but that's a big issue.
It reminds me in the beginning of this, everything that everyone talked about, from the judge to the lawyers to the UCC to Voyager themselves, they all talked about this. We're doing this in the best interests of the customer. We're doing this to get the most back for the customer. Does any of this on the back end sound like it's in the best interest of the customer?
Well, it's in the best interest of Kirkland Ellis and Voyager, because they sold our assets to Binance and made money and kept on paying themselves. We've talked about this a million times. The most fair thing for the customer was a toggle in July saying, we've got 60% to give you. We're reallocating, take your 60%. If the trust gets more money from 3AC, we'll give you those returns over time, but don't expect anytime soon. That would be the moral and the right thing to do. But unfortunately, and apparently, Chapter 11 is not about fairness. It's not about treating people the right way. And we saw the UCC. There are people that have almost all their savings in there. And the UCC talked about that, and how, some people have had to get mental help because of this, because they're missing a significant amount of their bank account. There are people that haven't moved on trips. It's just sad.
I think it's more than disrespectful. It's criminal. But at the end of the day, this isn't as well known as the FTX bankruptcy, right? It's not making the headlines in the broader sense. Nobody, Main Street people aren't reading about the Voyager bankruptcy and how much people are going through. This isn't going to get that much traction. People aren't going to know how much we really got screwed in the end. And I think that Binance and Voyager and Kirkland and Ellis, they're all taking advantage of that. They know this isn't hitting the mainstream news cycle, and they're willing to take big fat checks.
And they know people like us don't have that much power. Right?
We don't have that kind of clout. We can't make that much noise. We can't get that much attention.
We've tried calling the judge. We've tried called Kirkland and Ellis. You can only do so much, right?
When you call, they're like, tell me if this sounds like a phone hanging up. And that's it. You don't get anything.
Now we've given you the quote positive side. The negative side, that was confirmed was the market does go back down, you could get less than 51%. So I think that's important to understand. Here's a scenario that they've mentioned. Let's say something crazy happens, and this is my scenario. Let's say Apple buys BTC and a bunch of countries start front running, and maybe some projects do like Luna did. Long shot. Let's say BTC goes to 100K. I would be shocked. That's far from my expectation by March, but let's say it does. You're still only going to get a percentage. The most you're going to get back is your allotment claim as of July 5th. So if your value of your allotment was 20K, even if you had one BTC and one BTC is worth 100K, you're still getting 20K back of Bitcoin. So you would get a fifth of a Bitcoin. You wouldn't get half of a Bitcoin. You would get a fifth of a Bitcoin in that scenario.
And that's the
like the best
hopium
case
scenario. Like that's like huge bong rips of hopium, right? Like that's not even a realistic scenario, really.
No, that's not. So
Right?
there was some clarification, like, okay, well, 51%. That means if I had one BTC, I'm going to get half back. No, it's going to depend on how the low or high BTC goes. So if you had one or two BTCs, even though it says 50 to 51%, you're not guaranteed to get one BTC or half a BTC. It's going to be the fiat equivalent of what's happening at the time. So it's that. Yeah, so it's kind of sad, But again, the March thing, and we're going to try to transition into the show about recovery, and because in life you got to move on. You can't just look at the rear view mirror. And so we'll talk about a couple things. And that what I saw, some Best Buys now are offering Ledger. You can go in and buy a Ledger, which is kind of cool. And those ledgers are getting more and more sophisticated in terms of what crypto you can get in.
That's what I really like about it is that it used to be the ledger could only hold like 5 cryptos, and there was only so much of it that could hold, and the Trezors and whatever else. And now they're starting to be able to hold, hundreds. The new Stacks one is really intriguing to me. I really, I think that's what I'm probably going to.
Let's cross our fingers that customers well, let's say by the end of March or early April, you have everything back. Well, most likely we are still in a bear market. So you can start, if you're waiting to get your stuff back, or you're waiting to get most of your stuff back, you can start the recovery hopefully in a bear market versus trying to jump in a bull. How is voting going? Supposedly in the Twitter spaces I've seen, most people are voting yes. I would imagine most people are voting yes because a lot of people are not on Twitter and YouTube, and they see this vote and they say, oh, we're getting 51% and it's in March. Let's just do it. It's better than the toggle option. Personally, I hate the plan because I think we're getting screwed. But at the same time, who knows what kind of trickery Voyager and Kirkland Ellis have up their sleeve if this doesn't go through. Supposedly there's a toggle, but that toggle only if Binance does not go through with the deal, it's not the same thing as the deal not going through. And there's a question of how quickly the toggle would happen. And I mean, it seems like this would be over if the Binance deal go through and there would be an immediate toggle. I don't know. I don't 100% trust Kirkland and Ellis and Voyager. Why would I after this nightmare? And supposedly the toggle, you're looking at recovery in the 30s, mid to high 30s.
And let's say this has to stretch out. Let's say this doesn't get done with Binance. It stretches into May. Now you're talking about Halloween indicator time. You're talking about May when crypto generally falls off. I know we talk about gambler's logic and how that doesn't have to happen every May, and there's no reason to think it would. But that's a real thing in the actual market. The Halloween indicators go away in May and stay away until Halloween, right? And so we've also seen it even in the middle of a bear market. The market fell apart in May. And so if we stretch this
the bull, the last bull you're talking about our last bull run, we had a mini bear May and June and early July.
And the market fell apart in that time. And so if history is any indicator of what might happen in May, it will be bad if we stretch this thing out because we'll get even less because the market traditionally falls apart at that time.
No, and March is traditionally a decent month. we actually had, even though it was that we didn't realize it completely, the beginning of the bear last time. If you remember, there was a time in March where we made a pretty good run around early spring.
Oh yeah.
And then things fell apart. This was before the Luna incident, and after that, it's been a nightmare ever since. So we'll see. Like I said, my concern right now is that seems like the way they're handling this, there's going to be VGX sell-off if they're indeed going to return people's VGX. And even if it's not listed on Binance, you'll be able to transfer your VGX either to a wallet or Coinbase and sell it. It seems like there's going to be a mass sell-off, and the people that get their
why
VGX,
not just give me the cash equivalent?
So that's what I would think they would. Well, they're not going to do. But the problem I get is, let's say you have to wait an extra 24 to 48 hours to get your VGX. Your value of your VGX could plummet dramatically.
Absolutely.
And
especially if the first releases are VGX whales. I mean, can you imagine people like DJ Crypto and all these people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in VGX get theirs back first and dump it?
Well, wait a minute. Do you really think he has that much left? Because let's be honest, a lot of those people sold and they weren't 100% on it. Because let's talk about that. We talked about this. The price of VGX was really low for all those people that claimed they had all these VGX.
I'll take people at their word, you know.
Yeah, I mean, when the price gets well below 50 cents, how many people really were holding? There were a lot of people at one point that did. Who is going to buy it? No one. If there's no utility, it's a dead duck, and so you're just going to have a mass sell-off. So
that's why I wanted Binance to really come through and give us a value for value trade on BNB. Don't give me
that was never going to happen. But
don't give me the equal number, but give me the cash value in BNB, and then you'll retain me, right? If you give me BNB for my VGX, that's retention.
Honestly, they're just looking at this way of gaining assets. Unfortunately, Binance has done zero to invite anyone to stick over. I mean,
FTX
really,
was more inviting than
you declined to come on a UCC town hall. Maybe when the purchase agreement happens, they'll have their own town hall. They're supposed to give directions as to how to connect your KYC to Voyager to Binance, but it doesn't leave a warm and funny feeling for anyone. I mean, the whole thing is
he'll have a 45-minute Twitter space where he answers some softball questions, and then he'll be out of there.
Maybe. I doubt it. You're probably going to get the head of Binance US for 20 minutes, and they'll handpick some people to answer some questions and make it sound like thank you so much for buying our assets. We'll be indebted to you forever, kind of thing. I hate to be sarcastic, but how can you be? I mean, how can you be optimistic about the optimistic thing? Is hopefully, in all seriousness, if there is closure by the end of March, early April, let's just say, okay, it has been a nightmare. Thank God it's over. Now you got to have a motivation of fire within yourself if you have been hurt, which a lot of people have, to make that money back. And that's what the show will transition into, because crying over this forever not do anyone any good. It's been a good place for people to vent their frustration, for us, but at the end of the day, it's about making a better life for yourself and your family. Thank you very much for the kind words, guys.
Yes,
really appreciate it. Yeah, and that's what we're here for. And so that's spread the word. Please hit subscribe if you haven't done to. Please share our video with other people, even if they're not crypto people, maybe looking to get in. This honestly is a great time to get in, because you're still getting in on ground floor prices pretty much. I mean, yes, BTC was at 15K, but I looks like that was kind of looks cross our fingers, that was kind of close to the bottom there. So I see, again, I don't see a 30, 40, 50K BTC, but I think no, people that are calling for 10, not going to happen. I don't think.
I think we've regained the health that we lost through FTX, and we're showing some strength, at least across the board, through the negativity in the macro environment. We'll see how that plays out. We still have some cold winter months to go through here.
Hopefully, look, you got getting your money back if you're a Voyager customer late March, early April, and then hopefully, in 2024 is not that far, next Bitcoin halving, and that'll be the time. And just be careful and take profits. We'll have a ton of shows coming up. We'll talk about easy places to quickly buy and sell. USDC return rate, well, it's going to be like the market. If the market goes up, you'll get more of your USDC back. If the market goes down, you get less of your USDC back. You're kind of in the same boat as us. Really, you want BTC to go up because coins that Voyager had a lot of, like Ethereum, will go up with BTC. So USDC, Nazir, is going to really depend on how the market does. You want right now, over the next 2 months, if you're in a spot with Voyager and waiting for your funds back in kind, the 51% or higher, you want the market to do well. No one wants the market to do poorly. I guess at this point you want the deal to go through because apparently the toggle is just too complicated. And I don't, it's too much to ask to give us what they have left. But they, and Kirkland and Ellis, I guess, is more powerful than superheroes because everyone's afraid to call them out except for this show, I guess. So here's the deal. Like at this point, I don't love the deal. I don't like it, but let's get it through because
I'm confused at how it's too complicated to toggle the app, but it's not complicated to send my VGX to another platform so I can
over several weeks.
Over several weeks?
And they're doing it over several weeks just in case Binance US becomes insolvent, that not all your crypto will be there, only some of it will be there, and hopefully you've had the chance to sell before they've gone insolvent. Isn't that pretty? Anyways, let's end on a good note, guys. We're trending up. Hit that subscribe, hit that like button. Let's get ourselves to 400 subscribers so we can give you bigger content. We've got some market shows that Mr. FOMO is doing with daily updates in the market, news, and I'll be doing some more shows as well. We're going to try to increase the show as much as we can.
And a special thanks to those of you who popped in tonight. We've been watching.
We love you guys to come in
really nice to see
and interact with us. We really appreciate it. For Mr. FOMO, this is AZcrypto. You guys have a great night.
See ya.